So, how much breath do you need when you sing? Well, actually, it all depends on what you're going to be singing and how to support your breath for when you sing. So, if you had a long phrase, just say you were singing this. You were just singing a lovely phrase about art, using the word art. Now, if you saw that down on paper or you was told that you need to sing quite a large section of music in one long breath, then you're going to be taking that opportunity to fill your lungs up to the best you can. And if you've got a little bit of an instrumental before you sing, and then you come in, golden opportunity there to think, breathing through the nose, and then sing your phrase, filling the body up with the amount of air that you will need to sing that phrase. Now, sometimes in singing we don't get that. You just get literally like one count and you're off. So therefore, you're going to need to kind of open your mouth to get more air in, and you kind of want to, that sort of food, you don't want to go like that, because you're going to send lots of air here and you're going to dry out the vocal folds before you even start singing. So I always say to my singing students, you've just run down to the local shop and you've just run back and you're trying to talk, and then you kind of got that sort of breath happening. Okay, that's not the breath that you want to be doing when you're singing at all. You kind of want to make sure that you are taking gentle breaths and sing. And people also think that when it comes to singing that you're letting out a lot of air. Well, you're not. The air is controlled, no different to a conversation. So if you go and get yourself a book, or just count to 10 if you don't want to move away from here, and just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're not breathing in between each one, 1, 2, 3, or anything like that. I don't recommend you try that either. But you need to make sure that when you're talking, you're taking note of the support that you're getting round. And the difference is, we don't hang on to the vowels when we talk. Everything is short. If I was to suddenly start holding on to words as speech, it wouldn't sound great. But if I was to apply that within music, and I was to suddenly start holding onto the notes, it's more appealing to the ear, because, oh, this is quite nice little tune coming out. So when you're singing, that's what you're wanting to do. You're kind of wanting to shine with the vowels and let the consonants attack the beginnings and finish them off. You never really want to, unless it's in your favour, sing through a consonant. So, for example, in classical music and in church music, and you can sing the famous Amen. Amen. Or Amen. Yeah? So you can decide how you want to sing that. If you're doing a solo item, or if you're in a choir, you will need to listen to what the choir director wants you to do. It could be for effect they want you to sing through that consonant. There's not many consonants you can do that on. You can't do it on a t. It just doesn't work. Or a s. Okay, so you really do need to make sure that when you have your music, that you are marking your breaths, and that's really, really important. So I've taught contemporary choirs where they just have lyrics, and I always used to strongly advocate, and my choirs in present day today, that you mark your breath. That's what you want to do, because you always want to be breathing in the same place, so your brain can have this muscle memory effect. because the breath is just as important as a word and or the note that you're singing. And if you mark your breath and you rehearse your breath, all right, then you're going to become a better musician because it's all part of it. And if they're, say for example, you just doesn't matter what you just cannot sing that phrase in one breath, try it on a vowel. Take away the words and actually try it on a vowel. So if you was singing a word and or a phrase and you couldn't do it in one breath, try a vowel. And if you can do it in a vowel, you think, so what word or words are letting out more breath than what they should? Now, sometimes more air can escape when you're singing certain words. And remember, unless you've got your hand here, okay, with a mirror, yes, you can feel that, but the air doesn't come out like that when you, just sometimes practice when you're singing, putting your hand there so you can actually feel the breath. You should also feel it around here. A lot of my students, sometimes they say they feel it in the back, they feel it like support, like someone giving you a hug. It's kind of where you feel it in the diaphragm. You don't want to be feeling it here. You don't want shoulders going up and down. You want to really try and master your breath so it gives you better performance. So for example, let's take a short phrase, shall we? Let's sing these notes. And we're going to do that to R, okay? So you're going to get 5, 6, 7, 8, which will be your breath, and then you're going to come in with ah. And that's it, okay? Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah. Now, you either sung it like this, ah, where you might not have taken enough breath in, or you had loads of air at the end. Ah, you've still got loads of air left, all right? You want to kind of make sure that you don't sing in that first example, so taking enough breath in. So let's go again. This time, just take enough breath in to feel the support for the short phrase. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah, and release, all right? Now then, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same again, but we're going to hold on to the last note a little bit longer, all right? So you mentally, you already know that the phrase is going to be longer. So now taking a little bit more breath. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah. Hopefully you was with me. Now you'll notice, because I'm counting, I'm going 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't breathe in whilst I'm speaking. So I'm actually taking one count breath before we do the exercise. But this time, I won't sing. And that movement there means that you're breathing in through the nose, because we've got a bit of an instrumental going on before we sing. Okay, ready? 5. Hopefully you breathed in gently and you had enough air. So did you have enough air to finish that whole phrase? The answer is yes, that's great. If not, do that one again, and making sure you might need to just take in a bit more air. And what's also very common with singers is I call it the puffer fish. There's lots of people online call it all different things. That's what I love about YouTube. You know, there's just like an online library, isn't it? Except you don't have to take books back. So you can have this lovely, and then you kind of get like that, what I call the panic face, like something's happening. It just means that you're breathing in way too much, and I actually felt that in my back, and it was quite painful actually towards the end there. So you don't want to be in that situation, because it's A, it's not a great look, and B, it's not good to do that to your body, especially if you have asthma, breathing problems as well. You just need to be really careful. I often say to my students that when you're relaxed and you're reading a book or you're watching the telly, your body is doing the most relaxed breathing ever. And when you pop that kettle on in the morning, how many of you ponder out the window? Yeah, I'm one of them. You pop the kettle on and you're just, it's going to be a lovely day today. That 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what kettle you have these days, that's when I do my breathing, because I'm not doing anything else. I'm not thinking about anything else. And really, you don't want to do a lot of like 10, 15 minutes of breathing, and that will exhaust you. You kind of just want to do it right. You want to feel the breath. I've done with my students where they lay on the floor and they place a book down here and they see if the tummy is rising and things like that. There's lots of things that you could do, and there is a ton of resources out there on YouTube with breathing exercises to help singers from all abilities. So when you're watching this video, also tap into other people. I do it all the time. It's really, really great. It keeps you learning, and it keeps you, I didn't quite understand how that lady or gentleman said it, but I understand how that one. And eventually all of the information that you get, it kind of goes into your beautiful brain, and then you're like, I can apply that now. So just remember that when you're singing, you don't want to be singing to your last bit. Okay, we've all done that in conversations, haven't we? The conversation is so important to get out because you're really excited and everything, and then you suddenly just forget to take a breath, but you've really got to get your point across, and then you take that breath. You don't want to do that in singing. Yeah, you don't want to do that in singing. You want to make sure you're taking in the breath to support what you're singing. It's all about the volume of air as well. So making sure that your breath is just as important as your music and or your words. And contemporary choirs that I have taught in the past and that I teach in my current job as well, is that a lot of people come to me and say they get anxiety, they get nervous, and they really, really struggle. Why is it at choir I can sing that entire verse with a couple of breaths, but when I do a performance I can't? Well, that's because your body is not used to maybe going into performance mode where the heart rate goes up a little bit, or the blood is rushing around your body and the breath becomes more frequent. So I often say to my students and my choir members that if you can do a little bit of physical activity just before you sing, so don't be the sofa singer, so get yourself ready and do a couple of these, and like count down from 20 and do some twists, do something that's going to get your heart rate from just that to that, so the body is working a bit more. And then get your song and then sing. Or if you're young and fit, okay, then do a couple of little joggy bits on the spot. Just get your heart rate going up. Then you are now in the same situation as you are when you're nervous, because when you're nervous your heart rate goes. You can probably feel and hear your heart rate, your pulse and everything. You become aware, everything's going faster, and your breath is quicker. Well, that's the same if you do a bit of exercise. So I always strongly advocate that if you get your body in that situation when you decide to practice that part of your song, have a pencil, and when you're singing it, mark where you're breathing when you are nervous during your performance. So little things like that, little tips that can help you. And I do it with my choir members. I get them to do a little bit of physical movement, and these are ladies aged between 40 up to 70, and I get them to do a little bit of movement, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, get their heart rate going. I say, right, now let's sing that phrase. And they can't. Whereas 10 minutes ago, they weren't struggling at all. And I say, now that's what will happen in a performance. You'll think, oh my God, I breathed in the wrong place. Well, you didn't. You're not used to remembering where you breathed when your heart was slightly going faster than what it is in the comforts of a choir rehearsal. So then I have people saying to me, yeah, but I was only able to sing those 4 words, then I had to take a breath. And I said, well, when we come to rehearse and your heart rate is calm, that's where I want you to take a breath, because that's exactly where you're probably going to breathe when your heart rate is up a little bit. And so little things like that really, really help. understand your breath, understand your body, because your breathing and your body is completely different to the person next to you if you sing in a choir. And you have to remember that. I remember years ago being in a church choir, I grew up with church choirs, and the choir director used to be able to sing long, long phrases. And I was like, oh my God, how does that lady do that? That is just, she must just have special pair of oxygen tanks on her back. And there was no way I could do it. And then I realised, I was quite young then, but then I realised that I was letting too much air out. Okay, that's the other thing. I was letting way too much air. Okay, that airy sort of effect. And this wasn't meant to be for effect, like some pop singers and Mariah Carey and all the others out there that do all that beautiful jazz on the notes. Mine was, I was letting too much air out. And my singing teacher at the time we used to hold a little candle here, but we wouldn't be able to do that these days. And the flicker was just like moving, it's just uncontrollably. And I was like, my God. Now I play a brass instrument, I play a baritone. And I remember that when I was learning how to play a wind instrument years and years ago, that they say put a candle at the end of your instrument. And if the candle is flickering too much, you're letting too much air out. So that's when you get like 80% air and 20% notes. So I kind of put the two together and was like, And then you learn how to sustain your note and to use the breath. So if you're new into singing, just to wrap up this video quickly, it's gonna take a while. Doesn't happen overnight. And if you don't keep doing it, you're always gonna be asking those questions. Why? You need to start applying and you need to start practicing. And you need to make sure you mark your breath as to when you are breathing. And learning that support, okay? So when you're at choir or when you're singing, really start taking note of your body and how it feels, where you feel the breath. Why didn't that phrase happen? Was it because you didn't have enough breath? Was it that you was letting too much air out? Okay, was the tongue getting in the way? All things like that. And that's what you need to start addressing. And once you start focusing on your breath and when you start applying it, you'll see massive improvements. And then it eventually goes into that wonderful world of muscle memory. And then when you come to sing a piece, you'll think, oh my God, I didn't even have to think about that. Well, you do, but it's in the muscle memory. So you then just start improving on the next stage, making sure, seeing how long I can actually sing for. And different volumes as well. I mean, you wouldn't take a gentle breath in and sing really loudly. You sometimes, depending on the music, I should say, because, you need to make sure that the breath and everything is what the music is asking you to do. Pop songs don't really have a lot of dynamics. Dynamics used in effect, choruses, yeah, we all know, the big fireworks and off we go and everything, but a lot of classical music does, a lot of classical music, and I always teach my students pop and classical and get them to really see the difference. So please work on those. Any feedback is greatly received. I'm new to the YouTube channel, but I've been teaching for a long, long time, and welcome any questions as well. Thank you.